Now, I've got a favor to ask for everybody. If you can get your phones out, please, and scan the QR code that you can see. If everybody could please participate. Everybody has a phone. It's very simple. Just get the QR code, scan the QR code. It's a little poll that I will launch right now because we want to know, honestly, it's anonymous, so don't you worry. Yes, everybody can participate. We want to know, have you ever been a victim of a cybercrime? Yes, I still remember the pain. No, it has never happened to me. So if you could be all just so nice, scan the QR code, give us a yes, no. I can see how many have voted. I see only 8. Come on, give some love, everybody. If you can all scan the QR code. Almost everybody done. We see that we've got, OK, 20 in the room. Now, to the 20, can I have show of hands? Who just scanned the QR code, clicked on it? OK, what did you just do? You scanned the QR code, right? And then you clicked on send. Maybe you just hacked your phone. No, you're a government. We don't hack your phones. Don't you worry. But if you think about it, this is how easy it can be. If somebody really wants to hack your phone, it's not that difficult. And that really tells you about a topic, a session, where we all need to pay attention. Because the truth is that Flo's not upping his cybercrime level, but there's many organizations in the shadows that are upping their game. So therefore, it's also important that we understand on how can we counter this terror. What can we do? And we have the right person to now give a bit of light to the darkness. He is the Senior Director of Solutions Marketing at Fortinet. So please welcome to the stage, Patrick Grillo. Welcome. Great to have you.
Thank you very much, and welcome, everybody. Thank you for taking the time to be here today. And it's interesting, and I tell you this in advance, because the survey question you just had, I had nothing to do with it. Because my intro, I want to ask sometimes a difficult question, but is there anybody here in the audience whose organization has had a serious cyber incident during the past 5 years? Just raise your hand if it's a yes, no names, nothing there. Anybody? In the back there. What's your name? No, just joking. But seriously, when things happen in life, there's this concept of the 7 stages of grief that we go through, of it happening, the disappointment, and so on, until we finally get to the point where we accept it. And in speaking with people who have had serious cyber incidents in their organization, whatever time of the year it is, they go through the same process. They go ahead and go through the idea that they can't believe it. How did it happen to them? Was it something that they did? Till finally they go, okay. But there's one thing that never goes away, and that's the sense of being alone. That somehow your organization was cut from the herd, was focused or was identified, and you've been attacked. And it's that sense of loneliness has really made a difference. It's something that stays with you. Now, I'll use another analogy to explain that. Sports. And in thinking about it, I decided to use American football as an example. Not for the obvious reason, but rather due to its nature, that it's a start and stop. The other sports, basketball, rugby, the other football, although I'm not sure how you can call it football if you can't pick the ball up and throw it forward, those sports are continuous motion. But in American football, the start of every play, the offense decides what it's going to do. It knows what play it's going to run. The defense has to anticipate. That anticipation, they could be looking for certain formations or certain characteristics that are analogous to this idea of an indicator of compromise. Then the play is executed. The defense, did they guess correctly? Are they in the right position? Do they react, detect and react, which is analogous, of course, to threat detection and response. That's the key piece. The offense, in this case, the hackers, the threat actors, always have the advantage because they know what they're going to do. They also have a mentality, it doesn't cost anything, so let's do this. If it doesn't work, let's try something else. And that's the environment we're dealing with and have been dealing with for a number of years. And that's before AI got into the act. Because if you look at these organizations, they have transformed themselves from individuals, script kiddies, whatever we used to call them a few years ago, to where they are today. These are professionally run, creative and collaborative organizations, even to the point where they are offering cybercrime as a service. All you need is money. And taking that environment and bringing AI into it. Now, let's be clear. This is not Hollywood's interpretation of AI. It's not suddenly going to make things happen either offensively and defensively, but the hackers are using AI for exactly the same reason that the people on the other side of the fence, those of us charged with defending networks, use AI to make what we do more effective, to enable a faster threat detection and response, to improve the efficacy of the different solutions that are in the network. And if we take all of that together and look at the state of the situation the way we are today, I mean, cybercrime has been around as long as there's been networking. And we look where it is today, the state of it, it's not isolated. A few years ago, 2014, my credit card was stolen as part of one of the massive data breaches of that year. Getting credit card numbers used to be the objective. But credit card numbers are easily changed. They have very little value. Now it's more and more, and all of the issues that we've been hearing and seeing with ransomware, and then the evolution of ransomware from just encrypting to wiping out the data. And hackers shifting their focus from the traditional IT environment and moving into the OT, critical infrastructure. Things like this. This is the environment that we're dealing with. And again, that sense of being isolated. You're on your own because it is your company, your organization trying to protect itself from a network. It's not just an individual. It's a network of people working together. So that one against many mentality is so very real. And that's part of the problem that we're trying to solve, is how can we, at least level the playing field. Try to get an advantage, but if we can just level the playing field, that's a key objective. So if we look at the state of the situation as it exists right now, this idea, this individualization, segmentation, you against the world. The hackers work together. You have your team, or the IT team, the InfoSec team, whatever it's called. And looking at that all together, you have people doing individual tasks. But most of the customers that I talk to, those teams don't really collaborate. The network, which is such a critical component, is separate from the security team in most part. And for any number of different reasons, they don't play well together. So inside of yourself, you're trying to present a united front, but it's fragmented, trying to get things. You have people who are specialists in one particular technology, but who has the overall view? Who can see all of it and understand how all of those technologies come together to create something? And particularly in today's world, where most organizations' network are overly complex. Most organizations don't really understand or are aware of all of the technologies, all of the products that are in their network and how they work together. Because there's always something that's been left over, a legacy. It seems to work. It's a box with flashing lights in the corner, but nobody knows what it does. The person who put it there is retired. You're afraid to touch it because you don't know what it will do to the network. So these are the odds that we're dealing with. Some of those are internal, absolutely. But looking at the rest of it from the external perspective, what can be done, what should be done to try to remove that sense of loneliness, that you are not alone. Yes, it's still up to your organization to protect itself, but what if you had a bigger vision? Well, in the last couple of years, The World Economic Forum, the WEF, created something called the Cybercrime Atlas. Well, now you're thinking, WEF, isn't that where a bunch of rich people go to Switzerland in February and have a ski vacation and talk about abstract ideas? Yeah, they do it. But at the same time, the WEF, World Economic Forum, has turned its eye towards cybercrime. Because while it's technology and we deal with the technology, the cybercrime is an economic issue. I just looked up some numbers earlier today. One of the things we would agree is a scourge of modern society is the illicit drug trade. The illicit drug trade has a market value of approximately $500 billion, half a trillion. The cost of cybercrime, $9.5 trillion. 9 times more. That's what we're talking about, and that's why the WEF has gotten involved with this and created this idea of a cybercrime atlas. Now, the choice of words is very telling, because what is an atlas? A very dry definition would be it's okay, a bunch of maps that are joined together. But beyond that, it's where we go for knowledge, to know where we're going, to find a path to where we want to be. And that's what the Cybercrime Atlas is all about. It's about bringing together the different forces and leveraging their knowledge, their collaboration, to try to give organizations more knowledge, because knowledge is power. Knowing who the enemy is, knowing what the tactics are, and coming from a unified perspective rather than disconnected bits of information. That's what the Cybercrime Atlas is all about. And it's about disruption. It's about creating a disruptive force, this time for good, to try to level the playing field and understand and identify where are certain points where it can make a difference. How can it achieve its goal? Where are the what's called choke points located, and how can we leverage that? Now, how do they do it? It's not a collection of papers, although papers exist. It's about active participation and collaboration under the management of the World Economic Forum. But it's also a PPP, a private, public, sorry, I forgot what the last P is. Anybody? What? Public, private, I'll come back to it. Sorry about that. But it's about working with the private sector. It's about working with companies like Fortinet and our competitors, because in times of trouble, the industry does come together to create something bigger. And so this collaboration, which is only in its first year or so, this collaboration is already proving itself to be very useful. And I'll give you an example in just a minute. But how does it do it? Well, of course, it starts with knowledge. You have to understand who your enemy is, understand what the tactics and the pieces, the things that they have traditionally done, and the emerging threats, how they're going to get there. Understand the terminology. And in fact, I heard a new one for the first time today, a tactic called pig butchering, of leading somebody on. You've got your hooks into somebody, and to get them to contribute more and more and more until you finally take it all away. So this is always changing. The terms we're using today were never used 10 years ago, although the ones from 10 years ago are still just as applicable today. That's what we're talking about, is research. Put a face on an anonymous organization. Understand who's behind it so you can then better understand how to defend yourself. Now, in the year that the Cybercrime Atlas has been in effect, you can see the results for yourself, a number of advances, a number of progress made in different areas. But there's one in particular that you may have heard of, something that happened in Africa across multiple countries, this idea of Operation Serengeti. Now, this was not launched at just one organization. It was multiple organizations in different countries. And it consisted of credit card fraud, a Ponzi scheme where you buy in, but you never get paid out, cryptocurrency fraud, multi-level marketing fraud, and a virtual casino. All of this together through the collaboration of Interpol with Afropol, law enforcement working together, and you can see the numbers for yourself. This is what collaboration can bring. This is the tangible benefit of working together in an environment so you're not alone. Yes, you're still ultimately responsible for your organization's security posture, how well you can defend yourself, but having more knowledge about what's going on in the greater world. And even before the Cybercrime Atlas, we saw the benefits of this sort of collaboration. About 10 years ago, there was an effort spearheaded by Interpol where they broke up, I believe it was based in Nigeria, they broke up a scam called business email compromise, where business emails were being intercepted, particularly ones that would have invoices on them. The invoices would be intercepted, they would be modified, changing the receiving bank for the wire transfer, and built the companies out of millions of dollars. For the future, continue what we're already doing. Keep going. We've made progress. Let's not stop. Let's find new and innovative ways to continue the battle. Now, where does Fortinet fit into all of this? In case you're not familiar with us, Fortinet, founded in 2000 in Silicon Valley, California, one of the pioneers as well as one of the global leaders of pure cybersecurity, and our success over the past 25 years speaks for itself. But a key component of that success has been collaboration, has been partnerships, working first on a smaller basis, then increasing with Interpol and other organizations to take what we know, leverage it, and again, as I said, even in a competitive environment, when there's a crisis, we work collaboratively to get our customers the relief that they need as fast as possible. I hope I've presented something to you a little bit different, give you a different perspective. We are on the floor in Hall 3.2. If anybody has any questions, please, I invite you to come over, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much.